The minutes of last meeting have been distributed. Are there any amendments to the minutes? Is there a motion to adopt the minutes?
Second.
Can we take that by consent? Proposed agenda has been distributed to all the members, released to the public. Are there any amendments to the agenda? All right, the agenda is placed on the table for discussion. First up is Indiana War Memorial.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Lauren Perry, and I'm from the Indiana War Memorials Commission. The commission is requesting funding to waterproof the entire plaza level of the Soldiers and Sailors Monument. The last time significant maintenance was done in the plaza was the 1990s. The monument hosts many profile annual events, along with over 155,000 visitors and countless foot traffic, all which contribute to the wear and tear of the plaza. With the interior of the monument opening this past Saturday, we will see an increase in visitorship. Work will include replacing granolithic pavement, including curbing and walls. Leak patterns will be remediated. Repairs will be made to exterior limestone. Joints will be sealed. A waterproofing and drainage system will be repaired. Skylights will be repaired. Limestone tread will be replaced, and Dutchman repairs will be made. The commission was appropriated $3 million in fiscal year 2021. Since then, the scope has increased to cover the entire plaza. So today we are requesting $3.375 million in deferred maintenance funds for a total of $6,375,000. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is, Matt, were you going to speak on that? You good? All right, Logansport State Hospital.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the State Budget Committee. By means of a quick introduction, I'm Jeff Wedding. I'm the Director of Operations for the State Psychiatric Hospital Network under the Family and Social Services Administration's Division of Mental Health and Addiction. I'm here today to discuss an appropriated project needed for Logansport State Hospital. This project we are seeking approval for today. It involves replacement of overhead power lines and a transformer that feed power to operate a total of 18 buildings on the south and east side of the campus. Current electric lines and transformers are the responsibility of the hospital and have deteriorated, resulting in 4 major power outages in 2021 alone. The original lines were installed in 1970, and the transformer dates back to 1919. We are pursuing this project, which will bury the power lines and place the transformer in a safe, accessible easement at a cost of $302,140. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Indiana Finance Authority.
Red light? There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Jim McGough, the Director of Environmental Programs for the Indiana Finance Authority, and I will provide some additional information that is not with the memo you received. And the specifics of this request is the $20 million per year appropriation is recommended by the Wastewater Task Force back in 2018. The Finance Authority has received the first tranche of funding last year, which $18.5 million has been put into 9 loans as required under the legislation, 40% of the $20 million is required to go to communities of 3,200 or less, and that would be an $8 million level. There was $12 million actually allocated to communities fitting that for a total amount of 18.5 out of the first 20 that we've distributed. We do have an annual report that will be published every year that's on our website, and I can also make it available to the committee as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody's worn out from being on the floor, I think. Matt Kent, Department of Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the committee. Once again, Matt Kent with Department of Administration. The Department of Administration is requesting $2.5 million to conduct facility assessments for state agencies as we begin to prepare for the fiscal 24-25 capital budgets. These facility assessments will be conducted at various sites around the state and will focus on building envelope issues, structural issues, mechanical systems, plumbing, and electrical systems of the sites and buildings. The results of these assessments will give us a good idea of our current capital needs and then also our needs for the 24-25 capital budgets and budgets beyond. We also hope to gain information regarding what preventive maintenance is being conducted at these sites to see if we need to increase some of those preventive maintenance budgets at some of those sites and facilities. Public Works will work hand in hand with several different contractors throughout the state to attempt to get these assessments done in time for the capital budget developments, which will be coming up pretty soon here. Happy to take any questions.
Senator Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I was a little bit distracted, but I just wanted to make sure, did you say you're assessing all the NDOT properties as well?
And we're going to take a look at what facilities we need to assess. NDOT does a pretty good job of assessing their own, so we're not going to waste our time and energy on sites that we know they have a good handle on what their capital needs are. We'll have conversations with DOC and see if they need any. We'll have a conversation probably with every state agency. Do you need any of this help or not? Just to make sure that we're all on the same page. If DOC and DOT will probably have a pretty good handle on what they've got. There's some
School for the blind, school for the deaf, they're out.
We've already had those done, so yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Next, do we have Mayor General Lyles?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the State Budget Committee. I come before you today to request $306,864 for roof repair. This project will have a federal match of $522,496 for the total project, budgeted at $829,360. It's for Building 3, which is located at my headquarters at Stout Field. It houses our IT network operations, and it was built in 1994, making the 35,208 square foot roof 28 years old. This building houses over $2.2 million of critical infrastructure equipment, including our voice over internet, routing servers, switches, and other things in the IT department. Unfortunately, the roof has no applicable warranty, and we have spent a large amount of money on patches and repairs over the last few years. And recently, leaks are causing about $80,000 worth of network damage to our equipment. So our solution is a complete demolition and a replacement of the current roof. With your approval, we hope to start soliciting bids this spring and start construction this summer. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Kendra? Sorry, I was trying to read
okay.
the sheet here.
Everybody was just kind of looking at me like it was my turn, so here I am. Kendra Leatherman, Deputy General Counsel for the State Board of Accounts. We're here to request funding from the Coronavirus Relief Fund in order for us to complete some FY21 school audits. The $2.5 million will allow us to contract with an auditor who's used to doing school audits, and it'll cover 64 what we consider regulatory schools, and those audits will be 45 days on the financial piece and 43 days apiece on the federal piece. And so this, if you will recall, we've had a lot of increase in federal audits over the last few years because of the increase in federal money. And these audits are due on 6/30, and so that's why we're talking about the CRF dollars today.
Any questions for Kendra? All right, we're good.
Yeah, I just have one other thing to add. This is for FY21 schools. I think when we spoke this last summer, we discussed how, because there is such an influx in federal funds, our request for additional funding for audits will be kind of an ongoing request moving forward. We are currently working on what that request would look like through the end of the biennium. So if anybody has any questions on that, I'm free to answer them, or I can provide you with other information at another time.
Thanks, Kendra. You're so thorough. You must have worked for the Senate at one time.
You know, it was good upbringing.
All right, thank you. So next are the university projects. We've got Ivy Tech, Mary Jane McElhack. Oh, you're not coming up. Okay. Here, I thought I had it right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Dom Chase, CFO, Ivy Tech, sitting in for Mary Jane. She's available for support, though. We're here today for your consideration. We have our C4 building, which is our Culinary and Conference Center, a purchase that Ivy Tech would like to make from our foundation. And to take you back a little bit of history, in late 2010, the Lilly Endowment provided a donation to Ivy Tech of almost $23 million. To fund the purchase and renovation of the old Stouffer Hotel. This is just north of our Indianapolis campus. And the city of Indianapolis also contributed $6.4 million in new markets tax credits to help the renovation. And the foundation used $10.5 million at that time of its unrestricted net assets to fund a portion of those renovations. So at this time, the college would like to move forward with purchasing the building from the foundation for $10.5 million, which is what the foundation had initially invested. And this will achieve a couple of things for both entities. In terms of the foundation, they receive those dollars, which they can then invest and support their operations and things like student scholarships and so on. The college itself will actually take this asset onto its books, and it will increase our net position. And the reason being that the asset is on the books currently is around $24 million. So it increases our net position and our financial strength, which allows us to achieve better bond rating and so on. Over time, we've been working to do refinancing, and we saved the state $18.3 million in refunding debt since 2014. So having a strong bond rating is very important to us. The way we're funding this is during the pandemic in fiscal year 21, there was a budget cut of around $17 million. And we went on through the third act of the Higher Education Emergency Relief, ARP. It allowed us to claim revenue loss, and we were able to claim that cut. And so we'd like to use a portion of that $17 million to fund this purchase. With that, happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations, Dominic, on your promotion. When you said CFO, I thought, well, where's Matt? I didn't realize Matt got a promotion. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Mary Jane. They tell me you got a promotion. You're all throwing me a bunch of curveballs today. So anyway, so welcome. Thank you. The Honorable Dr. Tom Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee and staff. Let me start by first saying thank you. I understand that you probably have some precious demands on your time this time of year, and to do a budget committee meeting in the middle of it is a little out of the ordinary, and I just wanted to say that I'm appreciative for the two projects that I'm bringing to you today. The first one is on our Bloomington campus. It is the renovation of the Wright Quad Residence Hall complex, originally built in 1949. This will be a full renovation of the complex, 300,000 square feet, over 1,000 beds. It is one of our larger residence hall complexes. It is, as I said, full renovation. The main driver of this will be full mechanical replacement, including HVAC. This is a building that does not presently have central air conditioning, and so we'll be adding that throughout. We'll be renovating restrooms, replacing windows, fire suppression systems, fire alarm systems, flooring, foundation work in the building as well. Cost of the project is $51.9 million. It is will paid for by residence hall and dining fees. This building also does include a dining hall. And this will be, we've been on a process to renovate all of our major undergraduate residence halls on the Bloomington campus since 2008, and this is the last one. So we're glad to be able to present it to you. Be happy to answer any questions.
Senator Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, that's exciting that you're almost done. I noticed you said over 1,000 beds and a half at a time, so.
Correct. We're going to do this
about
over 2
500
years.
students.
We're going to do this over 2 years. We're going to do the dining hall during the summer in between the 2 years, and so we'll take a hit of about 500 student beds. But the complex that next door is Ashton, and we're going to keep that alive through these 2 years, and then that will be demolished.
Oh, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, next one.
The next project is here in Indianapolis, related to the IU School of Medicine. This is a two-piece approval, one approval, two pieces to it, for a ground lease for Indiana University, ground leasing from IU Health, land at the current Methodist Hospital site. And on that land, IU is proposing to build a new IU School of Medicine education facility. So this will be essentially picking up the education facilities of the School of Medicine that exist proximate to the IUPUI campus and moving it to the complex at 16th and Senate, 16th and Capitol. This will be part of an enormous development. You probably, any of you who drive that way, already seeing some of the effects of it in terms of infrastructure. It'll include a new hospital complex that is being built by IU Health, and therefore it makes sense for the academic health center to be an academic health complex to be right beside it. The IU portion of this project will be approximately 323,000 square feet. It'll be a 10-story building, and which will include all education facilities for the School of Medicine, offices for faculty, instructional labs, and as well, we are shelling space for future research that'll come at a later date. Cost of the project is $175 million. $145 million of that is being provided by a grant from IU Health, and $30 million of School of Medicine funds for the research component. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Senator Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What is the long-term lease, the length again?
It'll be a 99-year lease, $1.
And so does that include, if you're not, are they going to be using the entire property that you're leasing?
We are leasing from IU Health. We will be using all that we lease from them.
Okay,
And
that's fine.
to give you a little bit of further background, we IU already have the IU Neurosciences building that is just to the north of this. I think we did a budget committee tour of this maybe a year ago. And so this will be our second building on the site.
And so there will not be any commercial on this? This is only all going to be IU's medical? Okay, thanks.
Correct. I mean, other than coffee shop or, you know.
Any other questions? Oh, yes, Representative Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question. The $30 million that I see from the operating dollars, is that typical to use $30 million in operating?
For the School of Medicine, that funding comes from research reserves. So the purpose of that is to eventually build out the research infrastructure in the building. And so the funding is coming from research funds that typically come from the federal government.
So you didn't think about bonding since it's so cheap?
In this particular project, no, because it's cash on hand. The previous project, yes, we are bonding that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, Tom, so if 145 million is coming from gifts, you'd only be bonding then 30 million if you bonded, am I right? So
Correct.
in a case like that, in this case, that's why, because there's so many gifts, you didn't have to bond.
Correct, yes. I mean, that's what I'm saying, it's cash, we have the 145 already in hand.
Well, I didn't want to make it sound like you're spending all your own cash.
Correct,
There's
right.
a lot of gifts.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, thank you. Next, we have Superintendent Carter.
I'm going to send his regrets.
Oh, okay, all right. So you made your sorrels?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I've seen him in the building twice today, so he's probably, that was first thing this morning, so he's probably gone by now.
In all candor, he did have a family emergency that just popped up about 2 hours ago, so he had to go up to Elkhart. And he asked me to put on my Doug Carter mask and send his regrets as well. Okay. First off, just like the good doctor, thank you for your time this afternoon. Budget session or legislative session going on 4 o'clock or after in the afternoon. Appreciate your time. And then also thank you for why we're here. The appropriation that has been set out, we were very, very grateful for it and want to just go through the highlights of the executive summary that we put forward and then see if you have any questions for us. We took the $4,025,000 and applied it to our ISP sworn matrix. We have 3 matrices. We have the sworn matrix, the CPS matrix, and the CPS Capitol Police Section matrix, sorry for talking in acronyms, and our motor carrier inspector matrix as well. With those, the most involved is the 20-year sworn matrix with all the ranks involved there, and then the Capitol Police Section and the motor carrier inspectors matrices are both 10-year matrices. So on the $4,025,000 for the sworn matrix, our first step there was to increase the trooper trainee salary by $5,000. That is for our recruiting purposes and to lift that front end on our matrix without causing subsequent compression. Second to that, we added $3,000 to the probationary trooper. So once a trooper goes through their 26-week training academy as a probationary trooper for 6 months, they graduate, and that's when they begin their probationary year. They're appointed at that time, and they progress in the matrix that next step. Then they continue on and through the matrix for subsequent years. So what this does on the front end is it helps us advertise at a higher rate and be more competitive with other police agencies, as recruiting is a issue for everybody nationwide right now. Following that, to avoid all compression from top left to bottom right in the matrix as it goes through each year of service and rank, we applied a 3.25% matrix increase across the board, and that helps us avoid the compression there as well. After going through that process, we had a meeting with the state budget agency and the governor's office, and at that time, the pay for performance and the other items for civilians statewide and state government was put out, and the only people in state government were the motor carrier inspectors in the Capitol Police Section, since they were in a matrix, weren't getting any type of increase. With that recognized by Budget Director Jackson, we went back, applied the same methodology as far as the 3.25% to the Capitol Police Section and the motor carrier inspector matrices. And that comes to a fiscal impact of approximately $200,000. Working with our CFO director, Mickey James, and through the cooperation with the state budget agency, we've been assured that we can absorb that $200,000 into our budget and bring those folks up to a par level with the other matrix employees that are enjoying a raise. That's the wave tops, kind of the highlights of the executive summary, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the committee? All right, chair sees none. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, are there motions to remove the items from the agenda as amended? Entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move we adopt the agenda.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Representative Porter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry that we were still doing some work on the other side, but I did have a question in regards to the Department of Administration and the $2.5 billion that was allocated for inventory. It seems to me that, when we have all these properties, that there will be a database already in place. And I just wonder why we're spending $2.5 million. I know I'm late, but $2.5 million to do that.
Mr. Jackson?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. IDOA has started to put together a list, I think, that includes all locations of properties in terms of just a list of all those assets. And take, for example, like a property, Spring Mill State Park might have 30 different buildings on that campus, if you will. Not only is this just making sure that that inventory is 100% up to date, but then also it's getting boots on the ground at every asset and judging the physical condition of each of those. And that's something that I think we tried to do something like that maybe around 15 years ago, but it's not been updated. But this is actually looking at every asset and also judging what's going to be needed to get it into from the current condition, which might be excellent, fair, good, poor, whatever, to actually saying, no, this building definitely needs a new roof, this one needs a new boiler, like that. And also, my understanding is that IDOA is going to be contracting out a lot of this work just so that we're getting more of a apples to apples comparison across facilities as well as agencies. The end product, what I'm hoping is, it doesn't end up being somebody's wish list where, maybe some park director at DNR says, well, our deferred maintenance includes a pool that we never had because our master plan said that we would build a pool sometime around 2025. Also, I think getting a third party to look at this will help to make sure that we don't get any agencies that maybe haven't done the greatest job of taking care of their asset from maybe making the asset look better on paper than what it might actually be, if that makes sense.
So, in regards to that, so there'll be a criteria set up for that, people to do the boots on the ground inventory. There'll be a RFP or request for information going out. When do you have an idea when that will happen? Who that will go to? And just want to make sure that that we don't, as a state, as a Department of Administration, create an RFP that would fit some particular individual or company and not be more inclusive. And that's my worry. Again, that diversity, equity, and inclusion for every people in the state will be hampered by those individuals that are there that may not be as sensitive as people like me.
Understood.
Anything else?
So the question is, who's going to do that? Will the budget agency or individuals be able to participate? Which way are we going? What is the movement going to be, Zach?
So my understanding, and unfortunately IDOA is already left.
Well, I'm sorry I was doing the people's work, and we have questions. And bottom line is that they're gone, and I'm not going to let this be swept under the rug. I'm going to ask these questions because I think it's imperative that we understand what needs to happen, what cannot happen here. And I think it's very, from my perspective, disingenuous for them to come in and do what they want to do and run out of here, and there's no accountability. To me as a member of the Budget Committee. You don't need to answer that because there ain't nothing you can say.
Anything else? Well, I want to thank everybody for taking the time because the whole point of this was we had some university projects that didn't make the cutoff for the last budget committee meeting, and they couldn't wait until our next meeting. It would put the projects behind. So then we kind of filled it up with other things that were available. So I know we don't usually do this during session like this, but I do appreciate everybody's time. So we'll go ahead and adjourn.